G'day everyone, Armoured Pants here, and I have another video for you in the Advanced Blitz Gaming Guide, and this one is called Doing Your Job, or Not Doing Your Job, and in particular in this video we're going to look at spotting, why it's so important and why the tank that has that job should do it and why they need to do it. This is also a giveaway video, so one of the 8 spooky Halloween words that myself and Littlefinger have come up with will be in this video, so keep an eye out for that. Don't forget to subscribe to both channels and to our Discords, and there'll be links in the description. Now we're going to have a look at 2 games on the same map for the purposes of this video. And this will enable us to compare and contrast the different outcomes and play of both games a little bit better. Now, first thing we're going to do is we're going to pause it here and have a look at the setup. The thing that strikes you first is that there's only one fast moving tank on each team. Therefore there's only one set of eyes on each team. Therefore, the role of the light tank on our team, the medium tank on the other team, is key. If they don't do their job, if they don't go and spot, then we have a serious disadvantage. I'm just going to pause it here because this is a bad sign, right? The T92E1 hasn't moved. I'm pretty much slow moving tank, and I've already caught up with him in his spawn. So this is a bad sign, right? I think just get worse from here. You can see instead of going off towards D, even though I've clearly told him I'm going there, and the waffle tractor's going there, he decides not to go there. And this is going to cause a lot of problems for us. You can see, by the way, not only does he not do his own job, he's actually blocking the waffle tractor from getting up into the sniping position, so he's stopping him from doing his job as well. So it's a kind of double whammy effect. We're going to be penalised twice in this, in reality, because waffle tractor can't get into position, and he is not spotting. Now, we're not going to talk about spotting mechanics in this video because there's a video about that. Also, the light tank guide explains it as well. So it's explained in a few videos. So go and have a look at those, right? We're assuming that if you're playing at Tier 9, you know how spotting mechanics work, right? But look at this here, right? I'm in a slow-moving TD, which is kind of a support vehicle, really, right? And I have just spotted up the enemy, right? So, you know, that's not really my job, and I shouldn't be doing that. That is the job of the T92E1. That is the job of the light tank, or if you don't have a light tank, the job of the medium tank, right? So I shouldn't be spotting up, right? I shouldn't be capturing bases either, right? That's not really my job, right? The T92E1 is the eyes of our team. He should be out there spotting up the enemy, making sure that we have targets, because, you know, doing your job is really important, but especially when you are the eyes of the team, because arguably that is the most important job, because without you doing your job, it's very difficult for the other tanks to do their jobs, right? Which is basically the heavy tanks to see strategic points on the map, and the TDs to snipe and to farm damage. If you don't have any targets, you can't farm damage. Now, thankfully we've been able to spot up some of the enemy here because our heavies moved forward, right? But, you know, we have a disadvantage because we don't know where all their reds are. And if you don't know where the enemy is, it's very difficult to be effective, right? And you're going to see another example of that here, right? Because T92E1 hasn't become our eyes, he hasn't done his job. Look what happens here, right? You know, this pattern comes up behind me. And if you're in a T30 or a slow-moving TD, the last thing you need is a medium tank like this coming up behind you, right? He's going to hit me now. He's going to hit me with a nice round. And now I have to break off contact and I have to go into cover, right? And I'm going to get hit again because I'm slow-moving. He's coming after me, right? And this is really not where I want to be, right? So I get a shot into him. Thankfully, one of my allies gets a shot into him too, right? But he's hit my fuel, blown my tracks. Try to clip him there to break his track, but I miss. I get hit again, but I'm able to clear him off, right? But look at the situation now, right? I am down to a 1-shot for a lot of their tanks. I've blown my tracks, and my fuel is damaged, and I've used one of my repair kits. So he has taken me down to 1 shot. And, you know, and arguably I'm one of the more dangerous tanks on our team with the size of my gun and my big alpha rolls, etc., right? And this all stems back to the start of the game, when our eyes didn't see for us, when our eyes didn't spot for us and left us blind, right? So, you know, you have tanks with, like me, with limited view range, and you know, poor concealment numbers, having to move around the map far more than they should have to, getting spotted up and taking huge damage, right? And that's how you lose games. Now in this game, now it's 4v2, it's going to go to 3v2, but it could, you know, and in the end we were able to win this game, right? It is a win, but it was a lot closer than it needs to be, and we could very well have lost it. You can see here both the E75 and the IS-8 both have a lot of hit points, particularly the IS-8, and you know, this is, you know, this game could have gone either way, particularly when you have a team which is not functioning as a team, in that all of the people are not doing their roles, right? You see me again having to capture a base, which again is not really the role of a tank destroyer, especially not a T-30. Of course I will do it because I have to, but that's not really my role, especially when I'm a one-shot, right? Both the E75 and the IS-8, the two tanks left on their team, could one-shot me, right? Now we're down to a 3v1 situation, so we probably have this game lost, but also because I've been taken down to one shot, I can't really move out. I have very poor concealment numbers, I have very poor view range. The IS-8 will spot me up before I spot him, he'll take me out, right? And then we don't know what's going to happen in the game, right? We may win, we may lose, who knows, right? We're in a good position, we have an extra base and we have 3 tanks to 1, but, you know, as we've shown when we do the Collabnod videos, that doesn't always mean you're going to win, right? So I'm being very cautious here, I'm managing my hit points. I don't want to be taken out and to leave my team down to 2v1 situation, especially with the IS-8, which is a very dangerous tank. But we spotted him up, and now I'm going to be able to put a round into him. He's got himself into all sorts of pickle here, so I'm able to take him out, right? So in the end, pretty decent game, Radley Walters medal, etc. But a good example of what happens when one of your team is not playing the role. Because Blitz, as we've said before, is a team game, right? Not only is it a team game, but there are 4 types of tanks in Blitz, and each of those tanks has to do their role. So TD is usually a support tank. It can be played differently, of course, but normally it's a support tank. Heavy tank is normally to see strategic parts on the map. Medium and light tanks, especially light tanks, are the eyes of the team. Their job is to go around the map, use their concealment numbers, use their better view range and their speed to spot up the enemy. And that's basically their job. And if you're not doing that job, you're putting a team at a huge disadvantage, right? If the Reds know where you are and you don't know where they are, they have a massive disadvantage. And it doesn't matter if you've got good players or bad players on your team. Now, let's have a look at another game on the same map, but this time it's when the light tank does its job, right? The light tank, which is me in this case, really does the job it's supposed to do, right? So again, I check the setup, right? Because that's key to the start of the game. But before I even do that, I can see that I'm on my own here on D. So probably going to D is not going to be ideal for my team. So I decide to use the speed of my tank to come around, to go towards the enemy. I'm going to go slightly down the middle, and I am going to see who I can spot up, right? Now, if you're playing a light tank in particular, but also a medium tank, especially if you're a medium tank where there's no light tanks in the game, a sign that you are playing well is to get a scout badge, a scout medal, or a patrol duty, or both. But if you're getting those medals, forget about mastery badges, first class, second class, all of that. Your job is to spot up the enemy. So if you are getting scout medals and if you're getting patrol duty medals, then you are doing your job well. And it doesn't matter what other people say, it doesn't matter if you're called a noob, those things don't matter. If you're getting those badges, you are doing your job well. That is your job as a light tank or a medium tank. It's to spot up the enemy. You are the eyes of your team, you're the intelligence of your team. Your job is to spot up the enemy. If you're not doing that, you're not doing your job, right? So, you know, and if you're not doing that, not only are you not doing your job, but you're not allowing your teammates to do their jobs, Heavy tanks can walk into ambushes. TDs have no targets. It's really, really very difficult. So, you know, as I said, it's arguable, of course, and everybody has a different opinion, but in my opinion, the most essential role in Blitz is that of the light tank and the medium tank and scouting and spotting. If you don't do that, it's almost impossible for your team to play well. I'm not saying you're not going to win games. Of course you can win games, but it's far more difficult. You make it so much more difficult for yourself to win those games if you are not spotting up and scouting, right? You make it extremely difficult on yourself, right? Basically it's like fighting with one hand behind your back, right? So of course you can still win a fight with only one hand, but it's a hell of a lot more difficult, right? So, you know, I can't emphasize enough how important the role of spotting is, and aiming for those scouting medals and for those patrol duty medals. That's what you need to do. If you're not getting those, you're not doing your job well. If you are getting them, then you are doing your job well. Kind of simple barometer, right? And you know, if you do your job well, I'm not saying you're going to win all the time, but you're giving yourself one hell of an advantage and one hell of a chance of winning, right? And in this game here, you know, it may not have seemed because the game was very fast, right? But I got the scout medal, scout badge. I spotted up 5 of the 7 enemy tanks, and I gave my team a huge advantage, but also put the Reds at a huge disadvantage, because particularly their big derp guns like the T-49 and the Rim Borsig were spotted up, and were able to put a lot of damage into them before they could really be effective and do a lot of damage to my team. So again, you know, as it's on the same map, I think it's easy to see the difference and the contrast in how the light tanks played in both of those games. You know, so let's have you know, a recap, right? So as we said, every tank has a role in the game, right? And Blitz is a dynamic game where each tank needs to play its role. It's a team game, and if one tank is not doing its role, it really makes it difficult for the team to function to its optimal, right? You need to know your job. So if you play heavy tanks, you need to know how to play them. If you play light tanks, as in the case in this video, you really need to know your job, know what you're doing, and how to utilize the toolbox you've been given with a light tank to do your job. Because if you don't do your job, basically you're denying your team eyes, you're denying them sight, you're denying them visibility, right? And if you don't do that, you're going to lose more often than you win. You're not going to lose all the time, you're not going to win all the time, but you're definitely putting the odds in the favor of you losing more often than not. And why would you want to do that? So, you know, because at the end of the day, it is a team game. Play it as a team game, be a good team player, you'll enjoy it more and have far more success. So, I guess all that remains for me to say is cheers, Mush. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it, hope you found it useful. And now I will say, pants off.
That's all, folks.